Hey, what's up YouTube? It's Joe again, and today I'm going to be doing a two-part review of 2014's Leatherface. I'm also going to be doing, at the end of this review, I'm going to be doing a full in-depth review, my thoughts on this film, so stay tuned to the end. Alright, so some of you all may know this, but this movie actually began production in 2014. From my understanding, there were some legal disputes over, the ownership of the film, and basically what they were going to do with the film after the last one, Texas Chainsaw. So Texas Chainsaw was a huge hit, had a huge theatrical release, made a lot of money. So with like many films, they want to cash in on the success of the previous film. So hence we get Leatherface. And I'm going to hesitate on giving my thoughts on this till the end of the film, so I'm just going to focus on the Blu-ray itself. Alright. So this is basically the only release this movie has seen to this point. It has a Blu-ray and digital HD. So I'll share the cover art with you. And then the back. And this is a pretty standard basically pretty standard bare bones release. You've got deleted scenes behind the bloody mask making Leatherface, and a play feature with alternate ending. So there's really not too much to this movie at all, and it really shows in the movie itself. Yeah. So I'm gonna go ahead and open it up, and what I'm gonna basically do is I'm gonna these ones that have the digital HD. I don't actually collect these digital HDs. I don't use them. So what I'm probably gonna do from this point forward, if it's a film that I'm not a big fan of, or I don't plan on using it, I'm just going to share it on my channel. So go ahead and feel free to use that if you want. And that is pretty much it. You have the origin story of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Leatherface. So I'm going to go ahead and just dive right into my thoughts on the Leatherface film. So a couple nights ago, I basically sat down and I wanted to rewatch Leatherface. I had previously saw it for the first time when it got released to Redbox. I had picked it up. I'm a huge Texas Chainsaw Massacre fan, so I had to watch this film. I watched Leatherface the first time all the way through the end, and I'm not gonna lie, I felt like it was a bore fest. It was hard for me to watch this movie all the way through the end. So a couple nights ago when I picked this Blu-ray up, I got it from Best Buy, and I said, hell, it was like $9 at Best Buy. I figured I'd just give it a chance. I'm a completionist, so I wanted to add it to my collection as well. So I picked it up in hopes that I would end up liking it. I'm a big, firm believer that you really can't appreciate a film until you've seen it a few viewings. So I figured, maybe the first time I watched it, I just maybe was not invested in it. So this time I really want to sit down, frame for frame, give this film a chance. So anyways, this film basically it's an origin story. It takes place in 1955, the beginning of the film, and we see the Sawyer family, the beginnings of the Sawyer family. So you get the young Leatherface. It's his birthday, and basically the Sawyer family, they take this person hostage, and they want him to cut the hostage in half with a chainsaw. And young Leatherface basically can't bring himself to do it, so they end up killing the guy anyways. Flash forward a couple years later, and you have Leatherface again, and they're trying to lure a young girl basically into the Sawyer house so they can kill her. Young Leatherface ends up bringing this girl. He's injured on the side of the road. The young girl comes to his rescue, and then she takes him back to the Sawyer house, and they get lured into the barn, and basically she falls down into this pit and dies. Well, it so happens to be that she is the daughter of the local police chief, who is played by Steve Dorff. And he comes back to the Sawyer house and basically says, you know, all these people have been mysteriously dying at the hands of the Sawyer family. So he decides he's going to go ahead and take young Leatherface and bring him to a mental hospital slash orphanage for kids. And warns Leatherface's mother that if this continues, he's going to go ahead and take all the kids. So you flash forward a little while, and basically you find Bud. So when Leatherface is at this orphanage or this mental hospital, they give him a new name. His name's Bud. They don't really explain why they call him Bud. You know, his name's Jebediah. But yeah, they retitle him to Bud. So that's the first thing. I really didn't understand why they do that. But anyways. So he's at the mental hospital. They're giving him shock therapy. It's just some weird characters at this mental hospital. They seem to focus a lot of time and effort on these extra characters at the hospital, and they really don't spend a lot of time on Leatherface at all, which is really what makes this film off as far as pacing goes to me. You're watching this film for Leatherface. You don't really care about these people at the hospital. And I know they're trying to build the story for, you know, for later on in the movie, but to me, I mean, it just makes the film drag. I feel like they could have spent a little bit of time on it, moved the story along, got more into the origin story. I mean, that's what people are going to see. They want to see the origin story. For me, I'm not a huge fan of origin stories. I just feel like there's some things that are better left untold. Some things we don't need to know. I don't really need to know why Leatherface became Leatherface. I'd rather him just be mysterious, a mysterious character that I've known and loved my whole life, and leave it at that. But what they do a lot of times with these franchises, once they get basically to the end where they know there's really nothing else they can do with the story anymore, as you saw with the last film, Texas Chainsaw, they tried to make kind of like an off story of, you know, the inheritance of the Sawyer farm, and so that's kind of where they went with that. And then at the end of that film, I think they really just didn't know where to go with it. So what's the easiest thing to do? Let's do an origin story. Let's talk about Leatherface, how he became Leatherface. So yeah, basically what happens in this film, I know I got a little off subject here. He's at the mental hospital, and like a riot ensues, and Leatherface and a bunch of other people, central characters to the story, they escape. And from that point forward, honestly, I was so sick of the movie, I didn't end up making it through the movie. I stopped watching the movie. It's just boring. Yeah. I really can't give you a full review on this because I haven't made it through the film. The first time I watched it, it was boring. I couldn't watch the film. I found myself looking at my phone at times, and for a movie that's part of one of my favorite franchises, I shouldn't be looking at my phone, okay? So when I did the second viewing, I thought, all right, I'm going to force myself to watch this film all the way to the end. And with this film, I honestly, I couldn't do it. It was the same thing that I experienced the first time when I rented on Redbox. I could not make it through to the end. So I honestly can't give you a full review of this film. All I can really say is that, to me, if a film can't pull your attention in to the end of the film, then it's not a good film. I can typically do a review on a movie even when it's boring, because I can watch it. I'll force myself to watch this to the end. I could not force myself to watch this movie. I think part of the problem this film has is that it's not centered on anything. It just doesn't have a direction. It's like they didn't know what they wanted to do with this movie. They slapped it together to make a quick buck off of the success of the previous film. And that's pretty much what you got here. Yeah. That's basically my thoughts on the Texas Chainsaw. I'm sorry, Leatherface. It's a poorly written film. From my understanding, they couldn't get a theatrical release for this, so it's a straight to DVD release. It's just not a good film. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry if you came into this with the hopes of this being an excellent new chapter in the franchise. It just doesn't deliver. The pacing of the film's wrong. The direction of the film, they just don't know what they're going to do with it. At times, it seems like it's they're just spending so much time trying to explain Leatherface and the whole mental health part of it. Trying to get into they want you to get into the head of Leatherface, and it just doesn't add up. There's just no substance to this film at all, and I just can't get into it. It's a shame that these franchises get to this point where they just got to milk the franchise for all it's worth. I just feel like, they're at the point in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre story where there really isn't anywhere to go. We've seen the story play out to the end, and there's nothing else for them to do. So now they're just going back. And the thing is, with these prequels and these origin stories, once you tell the origin story, you're really basically faced with nothing else to do, because what are you going to do? You're going to make a sequel to the origin story? You're essentially going to have to retell the original film. Or you're going to have to try to squeeze something in between the origin story and the original film, and that's just not going to work. So it's a one-off, and it's a mistake, in my opinion. I thought the last film had some good elements to it. I thought the last film, Texas Chainsaw, was pretty weak as well. Even though it did really good at the box office, it wasn't a very good film either. I don't think the Texas Chainsaw Massacre is a franchise that you can keep milking like Friday the 13th, Halloween, Nightmare on Elm Street. Those films have a lot more that you could work off of. Texas Chainsaw Massacre, I think the story's been told. I don't think there's anything they can do, and I feel like they're just pulling, they're just looking for anything right now. And that's what you have with this movie. It's just, there's nothing to go off of. And it's a story of, they're trying to find themselves. There's just nothing to do. Anyways, guys, those are my thoughts on this film. Yeah, Leatherface. I'm sorry, but this is a horrible film. It actually, I shared a post on my Facebook page the other night, and I posted a picture of it, and I was really excited to do a review, because I was like, man, I hope this film will surprise me after the second time watching it. And then after I made it about halfway through and I gave up watching it, I kind of felt bad that I made a Facebook post saying that I was going to review it. So I did the review anyways. I wanted to share my thoughts on it, what I think of this film. And yeah, thanks for tuning in. I really appreciate you taking your time. Don't let me discourage you from seeing this film. I don't want to discourage anybody on my channel from seeing a movie. Just because I might not like it doesn't mean that you might like it. It might be the film for you. I'm just not a fan of these origin stories. I feel like some things are just left better unsaid. And yeah, those are my thoughts. Alright guys, stay tuned for future content. And if you like this video, make sure that you hit the thumbs up button. If you're not a subscriber, please subscribe to my channel. And until next time, see you later.